The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do a podcast with you ever since I met you here.
Oh, to be honest, I kind of thought the same. I was thinking on the way to start doing this, I was like, just a few months ago, I had no idea who either one of the two of you are. And now here I am trying to do a podcast with you. So that was exciting yet intimidating because you guys have actually done this a few times. I haven't done anything like this.
Well, don't let it fool you. We're not pros at all.
Well, look, I've watched. I know.
We just come on here and shoot.
Hey now.
We just shoot our luck. Yeah.
But it's like, see, that was two slights David Adams gave us, or David Adam,
That's
on Public Air, where he goes, "Yeah, I never even heard of you two." And also, you're not very good.
Actually, by the way,
Slick burn, by the way.
Our friend Bill Taylor told me to say, I gave him a hey hoop.
Yeah.
And he was glad to hear from you.
We love Coach T.
Anyway, I guess at some point I will start editing this and I'll say welcome to Club Muddy. I am actually filling in. When you see the little screen across the bottom and it says Frankie and Ashley and Bobby,
Davey.
I've thought about that. My
just can't do it.
My grandmother used to call me that. And
You know what you could do?
Hated it.
You know what you could do? You could say, so it could be Frank, Dave, Ash.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
We could do that too.
Perfect.
I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I just knew that the idea of me being referred to as Davey takes me back to when I was like 8, and my grandmother would say that. And my grandmother, God love her, she was an unbelievable person, but I just hated
just grates
being
on you.
Called, I hated that.
Well, I'm
phrase.
totally cool with Ash, so we can.
And then
we
I've
can
had
float
Dave.
that happened too. No, don't get me wrong. That happened as well as I got older. So anyway, I guess I should start out by saying, how have you both been? I haven't really had a chance. I didn't get. Usually, when this production begins, I leave.
Yeah.
Right.
So to give you, you don't have to worry about me walking in front of a camera shot or anything.
No.
So, how are you?
Fantastic. It's
Good.
a beautiful day.
It was nice
Ah,
today.
it's so nice.
Okay, so it's gonna be like this today,
Tomorrow.
and
Yeah.
Saturday and
Saturday,
Sunday,
I know.
and maybe part of Monday.
I know. I have
And then-
so much stuff to do inside, but that's just gonna have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call this the Native American summer,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I'm sorry, Indian
Maybe.
summer.
Yeah, it's an Indian
okay.
summer.
Oh, so-
we can call it what it is. And it's the calm before the storm and the beautiful before the crap, and in my opinion. Anyway.
I don't.
The crops are coming up.
I don't mind 50 degrees.
I don't mind it either.
And as long as the sun's out, it was okay. Tomorrow, the next few days will be exceptionally nice.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of football games that I need to be at, so that will be greatly appreciated.
Where are you going?
I have to go to Quincy on Flynn Stadium on Friday night. Quincy High School, which I know this isn't a sports podcast, but the fact is the Quincy football team is really good. And when I was in school, let me rephrase that. The stadium was practically empty at halftime.
Yeah.
I mean, people, they showed up to watch the band because I was part of that era. I didn't play, but our teams were typically 0-9, 1-8, 0-9, 1-8, and it was just
brutal.
awful.
It was brutal.
And now to see the stadium filled from side to side, and people typically stay for most of the game is such an amazing improvement from what it once used to be.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
The only nit I have to pick is there was a game a couple of weeks ago. There was a tie score with like 4 minutes to go, and the Quincy fans didn't know what to do. If we were in Hannibal, they would have been going bananas. Yeah. And in Quincy, it was kind of like, way to go, guys. I mean, it was so quiet.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not sure people in Quincy necessarily know how to react to a close football game. They should be going crazy.
Yeah.
Should be going
And they didn't
nuts.
at all.
Oh, see, if I were
Chanting,
there, I would have been
going nuts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just going out of
I'm
your
like
minds.
a mega fan. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care
Right.
who it is. I'm a mega fan.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Blue Devil fan. I'm a Raider. And I'm a Blue Devil fan, and that's weird. Like, oh, you can't be Cubs and Cards at the same time.
Oh, sure you can.
What are you talking about?
Sure you
like,
can.
I live in Quincy. That's the epitome of a Cubs Cards fan.
If I were at a Notre Dame, well, I have been Notre Dame and Blue Devils, and my nephew played and my cousin played, and I was rooting for them both. And I know that that's awful, but it's what you do.
you gotta do it.
Changed,
yeah, do it.
But it used to be you couldn't do that.
Right.
Oh, you get a swirly.
I graduated from Quincy High School in 1983, and
you're just a yee pup.
I'm just a pup. Mm-hmm. And my children went to Quincy Notre Dame, and I get old classmates all the time. How could you send your kids to Notre Dame?
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, that's my own decision to make. So
sure.
I really, that's
Back
not
off.
That's not for you to determine. That doesn't mean that I hate the Blue Devils.
No, right.
It just means that I wanted my kids to go get a Catholic education.
Right.
No more, no less.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's as prevalent now. I think the advent of traveling sports has helped sort of dissolve that wall of bitter Notre Dame or Quincy High divide. Everybody's like, we're all in this boat together. And
it's like when QND and QHS weren't playing each other in certain sports, and then the great Saeed Ali said, no. That's not how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to have complete love for the town that we live in.
Yeah.
We're going to support the Blue Devils and the Raiders. We're going to have the crosstown rivalry.
And those
we're going to make each other better.
Events.
Well, yeah, it's like, but you have to push for it, because otherwise, if you don't, then people kind of go, they take their ball and go home and go separate ways. But it's a really important thing that everybody supports everybody. Now, when it's QND, QHS, you can wear your colors and you can cheer for your team. And then when QHS goes and plays, I don't know, Rock Island.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Just
pinch
Friday
poke,
night.
buy me a Coke.
Nice work.
No, then you cheer for QHS.
QHS.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so
There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's okay.
We have bigger and better things to divide us, right? Than than high school sports.
That's the part. Honestly, for me, now that my children have all grown and are out of this realm, I root for kids I know.
Yeah.
I've coached youth sports for a long, long, long time. After we leave here, I have to go to 7th grade basketball practice.
Are you coaching 7th grade basketball practice?
I'm the assistant coach.
Okay, well,
that's a nice.
That's a coach.
It's a good
That's a
role
coach.
for me, because when things come up that have to be taken care of, I just go, Tom, take care of practice. I'll be there when I can, and he knows that. That was the deal we struck about 10 years ago. This is my 44th year of coaching youth sports.
Jeez.
And I love it. And the kids, I follow the kids, honestly. I mean, I can sit there and when I watch out this year, the Notre Dame bunch, the starting 5, I think I had all of them when they were in the.
Have you ever had the opportunity to write about them?
Yes.
About any of your kids?
Yes, absolutely. I just wrote about one last week.
So that's a good feeling, right?
It's
awesome.
It's fun. I mean, I got to interview Connor McDowell, who was the son of the principal at Quincy Notre Dame, and Connor played basketball for me in the 5th grade. And I'm not going to say anything that Connor doesn't already know, but Connor was an average basketball player. It just wasn't his sport, but he tried hard. He was a lot of fun to have around, and we still see each other. We both laugh and we grin when we see each other, because we know the fun that we had. So when I go up to talk to him after they beat Granite City last Friday night, he was open and glib and loquacious. I told his father he was loquacious.
Good words.
And you told Principal McDowell that?
Oh, yeah. And he was even pretty impressed with my vocabulary.
Well, here's my claim to fame in this conversation is I graduated from QND with Principal McDowell.
Okay.
And we played soccer together.
Okay.
So that's how I got famous.
Well,
I mean, let's just call a spade a spade.
Were you an athlete?
No, but I was going to say, really the only tie I have to sports, like besides my nephew. So my oldest daughter just tried out for cheerleading today. So congratulations to all the girls who did that. I know that, some people, whether you view it as a sport or not, I do, because it takes dedication and takes time. And I think that's awesome that, young girls even have the guts, and boys. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's all inclusive. I'm assuming it is.
It has been in the past,
okay.
yes.
So just to have the guts to even try out. I mean, she was doing the cheers for me last night, and I always kind of cut her short because I thought that it was over. They have to memorize in like 2 days. They have to memorize this very long cheer as well as like 2 others. And it amazes me that, I don't know, it just amazes me that she was able to do it. Not just her, but all these other kids that are going to get out there and show these like seniors and other people who are going to be judging them what they got. And I think that,
it takes guts.
It takes so much guts.
It takes confidence to go out there and put yourself out there and put yourself in that position.
So I told her, I was like, just be your best self.
Whether it's sports or cheerleading.
Yeah.
The fact is you're putting yourself out there, you're representing your school, you're representing yourself, and it's kind of that first passage to kind of like adulthood.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what the girls told her last night. They said, if we were to go back, we wish somebody would have told us, have more fun with it, try your best, but have more fun with it, because this is your first and only. This is the first and only time you'll do this, going into 7th grade, trying out for cheerleading, your first time ever in your life. Have fun with it, be confident, be your best self, and hope that
it's not like
things
they had
work
traveling cheerleading ahead before this, and everybody knew who were the better cheerleaders before 7th grade started.
I mean,
that
they've
is
had
a complete crapshoot.
It is, and there's some girls who are going to get out there and totally bomb because of nerves, or just they don't, maybe they just can't do it. But
you just came up with a new thing.
What?
Club cheerleading.
Oh my gosh!
Like traveling cheerleading.
Hey, there is.
It couldn't happen.
Well, there is. Well,
there
you know
is.
what? I'm not making light of this, but it's like, okay, I bet the suburbs of Chicago have traveling cheerleading.
Yeah.
They're probably
My
flipping
cousin's
around.
on a team nearby. I don't know where it is, but their colors are red and black, and it's like they go to nationals and all kinds of stuff.
Now,
No, I couldn't do it.
between the
But
types of cheerleading that I'm going to expect your daughter to be doing, which is standing on the sidelines of the high school of the junior high school basketball games. Then there's the competitive cheerleading that you can watch on ESPN, where they're throwing people 50 feet in the air, and they have. I look at that and I go, now that's
intense.
Is competitive cheerleading.
That's intense.
That's serious.
Yeah,
stuff.
I've
not seen that around here yet.
I was always the flyer because I was so small. Now, I wasn't on a cheerleading team, but we would always do, makeup routines around the neighborhood. And I was always the one to be like the top.
But so you're in the neighborhood, which means that you're probably doing this in somebody's backyard.
Oh, just on our driveway. Gravel. We were real smart.
I just want to know, what were the safety precautions that were taken into place as they're throwing you 30 feet in the air on the driveway?
Well, so we would either drag out a mattress sometimes, but it was mostly because we would use that as we were jumping off the roof onto the trampoline onto the mattress. So if the mattress happened to be out there, we would kind of drag that over. But if not, then it was like.
Would it be unfair to say? And I've never. We bought a trampoline for our girls when they were, growing up. People who have trampolines are like, it's like you're the cool parents, because
back in the day
when you were a kid, man, jumping on the trampoline was it. I never really got it, but it was almost like, my daughters would bring friends over to the house and they'd be like, "You've got a trampoline?" And it was zoom.
It was a hot commodity back then, and we were the first people in the neighborhood to have one. And I met friends that I didn't even know lived near me because we had a trampoline, and we all became fast friends, and we were the place to be.
Did you have the little sides?
Oh no, not at that time.
Neither did we.
No.
We didn't have any sides.
No, we would just roll the dice.
In fact, I still remember. I'm going to keep his name silent for the facts.
You can tell us later.
When I figure it out, I'm going to say it out loud.
No, you'll never figure it out. But it was an old neighbor of mine, who the rule was you can jump on the trampoline at any time as long as either myself or my wife at the time were home. You can come over, just let us know you're jumping on the trampoline, because he was our neighbor.
That was one of our rules.
And one day I was home by myself. He knocks on the door, and he's wearing some sort of outfit, and his buddies have video cameras.
Oh,
and
that's never a good deal.
Can we shoot video?
Fail Army, here we come.
I'm like, guys, knock yourself out. And
David.
Next to the trampoline, before we had moved there, we had a row of hedges that separated the property line. And it's a beautiful day out. The windows are open. I'm working in my kitchen, and you can hear them out there laughing. They're having a great time. And then the next thing I hear them is they're howling hysterically. And what had happened is my neighbor kind of lost control and landed in the hedges and couldn't get out.
Nice.
And he was spread-eagled on the head, wearing, I think it was like a Ninja Warrior outfit or something like that. And his buddies didn't help him because it was too funny to watch him lay there in the hedges.
Yeah.
And I just went.
And they got it on camera?
It's all on camera.
That's amazing.
And
Yeah, the cool parents who let their kids
Or
have
if you had a pool.
trampolines or a pool, those same parents, they also let their kids drink in high school. It's like, hey, I don't want to be that parent that sends the kid home drinking and driving, so I'll be the cool parent.
To let
Hey,
people stay.
everybody, give me your keys.
Yeah.
Also, take this bottle of Jack and go down the basement.
Oh, see, my parents were never
also,
like that.
Take this empty bottle and spin it around and see what happens.
Were you hanging out with parents like
are
that?
just dirty.
You sort of sound like you're speaking from experience on this.
Well, I just know that there's always that parent or two or three. QND
I'm
is
not a
known
regular
for like,
mom. I'm a cool mom.
you know how like QND kids are like known for getting drunk and all this stuff.
Yeah, and they were.
It's like when the hammer
Like
of
in
like
tree houses.
Catholicism is like crushing you, beating you down. You have to get loaded. Of course, I only drank twice in high school.
Yeah, I
twice.
never drank.
Twice, like maybe 3 times. I had like
Yeah.
a beer and a half. And then I felt super guilty for weeks. And then I think my mother found out about it. And I got into huge trouble for it. But like these trampoline parents, and I just coined the phrase trampoline parents.
Sure.
I mean,
Not
super
helicopter.
cool.
The opposite of helicopter.
They're
Trampoline.
Yeah, they're not helicopter parents. They're trampoline.
Let me just go ahead and tell you, we have a trampoline. I won't be supplying any bottles for Spin the Bottle anytime soon, but
Could you almost like hear in the background her children going, Mom just said that she was going to give us liquor because we jump on the trampoline. We're the cool parents.
no. So my parents were very cool in the sense that they understood that there were things going on that they probably didn't want to know about. However, they never supplied it. That would have been me.
Yeah,
but I also had an older sister.
Let's put
so.
it this way: anybody out there who knows me and the thought of me supplying liquor to my underage children would be laughing.
Yeah.
Because
Zero
that's-
chance of that.
That
Zero
is
chance.
zero.
Yeah.
0.00.
You won't even put it in your own body, much less give it to a child.
No. And
So, because you have standards.
that's just the way I was. It never interested me.
Yeah.
I think I'll have a sip of wine at somebody's wedding when the occasion calls for it. But other than that, it's
will
just
you do the toast at a wedding? Like, will you
sure.
participate in that?
Absolutely.
You lush.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting wild.
That's about it. And it was funny when as I grew up, the first thing people would say is, "You don't drink." It was almost like, well, everybody drinks.
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
all part of it. And then it was almost like, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
that you don't
that's
do
good.
that. And so it's never bothered me. It's just
What do
it's just
kids
not my
do?
thing.
What do kids do now in Quincy? So
I have
Good
to
question.
defer to you because my kids are all grown and out of the house and living and doing their thing.
your
I
kids
don't know
are
what they do.
older than mine, generally speaking. I have a 7, 6, and 3. Right?
I hope your 7 and 6-year-old aren't.
7,
No.
6, and 3.
So my nephew is 20 and my niece is 16. And I can tell you that the kids that I know, they're more involved in church. They're more involved in like group things and extracurricular activities. And now when I say extracurricular activities, I don't mean 1 or 2. I mean like 4, 5, because their schedules are so loaded that I don't even think they have time for, getting into much trouble. And if they are,
Is
then
that the
it's
way
like
kids are now, to be honest? Because
the kids that I know. Yeah.
I remember, if you think of Quincy Notre Dame, the athletic program out there was built on kids who were 2 and 3 sport athletes. Yet, as my daughters started getting into school, it was the academic rigors made it hard to do that.
Yeah.
To be able to be a 2 and 3 sport athlete.
Yeah.
And I remember an old coach telling me, he says, I just don't know how kids do it. And that's why I was curious about has that sort of spun back around again?
I don't
to where
know
now
if it's
kids
for everybody,
that they
but-
don't feel like that if they're not busy enough by not being involved in 30 different things and different
Well, I think-
clubs and groups and activities.
Yeah, I think also, and again, I'm not a kid and I'm not around, high school kids, and I'm sure there are different groups that do different things. But drugs, they're scarier. Hopefully parents are teaching their kids that you don't want to test anything because there's just so much shit that could go wrong, right?
In my day,
it's just different.
We didn't have fentanyl. That's the rhetoric, right?
Right. So we weren't as scared to dabble, let's say. Drinking, there weren't as stiff penalties, I guess, because, you know.
The cops would. Okay, so when I was in high school, so 83 is not that old. I'm 95. So we're like simpatico here.
Okay.
Like we're brothers.
Oh, I love that word, simpatico.
It's a good word.
Oh, no, I know exactly. I know what it means. Just, you don't hear it used in common everyday language.
Well, I'm Italian, so, you know.
Okay.
And he's also famous. He's a famous Italian.
I'm famous because I know Mark McDowell. When I went to school, when you were drinking, and by the way, I mean, this is 91 through 95.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was easier in the 80s, even easier in the 60s. And I think all the people who graduated from CB were all doing blow out in the open. That's a joke, David. Yeah. No, that's a terrible joke.
Notice I didn't react at all.
He's like, what?
Yeah. So just I'll throw out all of these terrible bad jokes and some dad jokes and just things that make people feel uncomfortable because that's what I like to do. But okay, so in the 90s,
let's hit it.
If you got pulled over drinking or you were whatever, it's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
You're either getting serious trouble or the cop is going to say, pull the car over and I'm taking you home. Yeah. It was 50-50.
Or call your parents.
Yeah, or call your parents. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, I mean, I was scared to death. I remember this one time. So I drive a 49 Chevy pickup, okay? I've been driving it my whole life. Still drive it. Drove it yesterday. And you know those 49 Chevy pickups, the 3-in-the-tree floor starter, the vacuum wipes, the whole 9 yards. Are you familiar?
I am not.
It takes too many hands.
You know what? You're too young for this.
Yeah.
You're too young for this. So my grandfather from World War II bought this in Kansas City for like $350 or something. So when you go through a seatbelt check, they're not seatbelt checks. They're trying to catch DUIs.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Like if you get a Dewey in this town, you're in trouble. You get 2 Deweys.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. Yeah. Like your whole life is shut down.
Yeah.
But when you're driving a 49 Chevy pickup, and if the cops are listening, like just we might have to edit this out. But
I was going to say, well, you really are getting.
No, it's like what you do is like when you're driving a 1949 Chevy pickup and you've had too many drinks and you go through a safety check for seatbelts. Guess what? I'm not wearing a seatbelt. I'm rocking a 49 Chevy pickup truck. Okay, 3-in-the-tree.
Yeah, you have lap belts.
So there's no lap belts.
Oh, okay.
No. We don't do seatbelts.
No.
So the cops shine their light in there and they're looking around and whatever. If you've got booze on your breath, they can't smell it because there's so much blowback.
Oh, yeah.
The exhaust. You know, all you smell is gasoline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Hi, copper.
Yeah.
And then
I wouldn't do that, though.
And then the QPD, being as cool as they are, they go,
nice truck, man.
You want to sell that truck? I'm like, nah, it's in the family. And they're like, okay, we'll keep going. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, I've never done that.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, in my mind, I think you can do that.
Speculation.
Just pure speculation.
Somehow I have a feeling that once this airs, Adam Yates is going to give me a phone call and say, can we have a word with...
What's that?
Who's
that guy's name? How do you spell that last name?
Chief Yates.
Yes.
Stud. Like that guy. Before he was chief, he's like an all-around great guy. Good musician.
Does that mean that he's no longer an all-around great guy
that he is the chief? No, I think...
Oh.
I'll tell you, before he got named chief, I was pulling for that. For him so hard to do that, and then we almost hired that out of town guy.
Chief Yates, I think he's sucking up now that he's blown his truck story out of the water.
No, Chief Yates played at EOW.
Yeah.
And was like, you know, he's in the pepper spray band, I think, with Rodney Hart, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's an all around like you could talk to that guy about anything. Like he's a
jack of all trades.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I actually, so he's fantastic. But to your point, I completely blew my cover on this.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. But no,
edit that out.
But back to, I don't think kids, I don't know, maybe they are. If they're doing anything, I would say probably smoking pot because it's really accessible. And hopefully if they're doing it, they're getting that from a dispensary.
I think they're doing vape pens and gummies.
Vape is...
vapes and gummies.
I mean, yeah,
Edibles.
I can't get on board with the like strawberry cheesecake smoke. I just can't do it.
I'll tell you right now, that flower smoke is so strong.
Yeah.
You know what's happening. So I was in, the slowest street in the history of America in Quincy.
State?
We call it State Street.
Oh.
Yeah, it's State Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, State Street in between like 12th and 12th and 30th, slowest street in America. Okay, I mean, people drive 22 miles an hour. Okay,
and Harrison,
and it just happens to go past everywhere. 2 or 3 funeral homes, and it's like a damn funeral procession as it's going through. It's like as soon as you get near the funeral homes, like 19 miles an hour, and then you get like the Missouri plates in front of you.
Yeah. I think that's on any street in Quincy, though, honestly. I think Quincy has the worst drivers in the history of driving.
Main Street's
really?
I do.
See,
I would rather drive in St. Louis and Chicago than in town in the city any day.
No.
It drives me insane. And I'm not like a lead foot, but it just seems Harrison, I don't know why they changed it to 30, back to 30. It was 35 in between like
it's
36
a residential area.
It is, I know, but nobody goes 30. They're going like 22.
Look, I used to live there.
Drives me insane.
I used to live right off of Harrison. The infamous trampoline scene happened right off of Harrison, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That's an easy road to speed.
Yeah,
on,
I got my last speeding ticket there.
Especially if you were at 24th and you're headed east.
Yeah.
And you
go down that hill.
There's a couple of hills that
that hill got me.
Easy.
Are you saying that 35 meant 45?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On Harrison.
Yeah.
On Harrison.
Yeah.
In your old hood. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then all the 4-way stops, like so the roundabout thing that it has been, is in discussion, like 18th and State, 24th and Harrison.
Oh, you can't.
There are so many spots that if we're going to talk about a roundabout need to be addressed, but I know it's not convenient.
What do you think? I'm just curious. What do you think about roundabouts in general, not just necessarily the location of them? That's another issue. But in general, what do you think of roundabouts?
Oh, I have no problem with them. I think that.
Same. Well, how about you?
Generally?
Yeah.
I like them.
I think so too. I'm not really sure what everybody's.
I know what it is. No.
Tell me what the concern is, and
the price.
It is the price.
Just the price. Just the price.
Well, and the purpose.
Can you remember real quick?
The purpose for it.
18th and State, you cannot fit a roundabout there. Can't do it. You got knocked down
you
half of Gem City
and
half down of the Old Elders. Like it's
no, that's not possible.
Scott's Place.
But we haven't even entertained a stoplight. Yet we're working on a roundabout out at 48. I mean, we got to do some better studies here.
So
anyway, go ahead.
Some of the problems, though, with roundabouts is the people who push the hardest for them are the people who want progress, okay? And they want progress. Mm-hmm. They just think that a roundabout is progress. So they don't really care so much about like, okay, this would really alleviate some congestion. This would really improve a problem we have.
You just need one because everyone else has one.
There isn't a problem. But they're like, oh, by the way, 40th and State, a roundabout would go really well there. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, I have never been to 40th and State where I'm sitting there in line just waiting. Never.
Well, but I'll tell you when it happens. And it's when, you think about it when you're at John Wood Community College, it's still pretty remote for Quincy. It's not, when I was in school, the world ended at 36th Street.
Yeah.
So
furrows.
On 48th Street, what happens is when, especially like maybe after a basketball game or some sort of event there at the college, and people are heading north, and they sort of come to the rise at the top of the hill. If the cars are backed up from State Street, it's a very quick. Oh crap! Their cars stopped in front of me because I didn't see them as I was going up the hill.
Yeah, becomes a safety issue.
That's the safety issue. Okay. I think that is that they are trying to address.
See, that makes more sense to me. I think I could get on board with it if it were proposed like that.
Okay, so you've seen the numbers for that roundabout.
I have not.
Okay. The dollars.
That's what I've been. I've just been told. Okay, so that's the. I can imagine that happening.
David, let's assume. I'm not going to assume the education if you are an engineer or an architect background, if you're some kind of Albert Einstein engineer roundabout guy at like Batman guy at night when you're not doing the good work at Muddy River. But I bet you could do it for less than $2 million. Which, by the way, I heard $4 million.
I heard around there. I heard actually more than that because they want to put something in the middle, which is going to cost even more. Right? They want to put some kind of statue or flower garden or some shit.
Well, generally in the roundabout you have some type of green space.
Well, you're going to have to do something, otherwise it's going to look ghetto.
You do something, either a green space or artistic.
Yeah.
And I like to make the joke, either you need a statue of John Wood or the great Ben Bunbury.
Yeah.
just something, just something like. By the way, my vote is for Ben Bunbury.
Ben Bunbury would be great.
I think the Muddy River crew, and we could.
Well, I just.
Well, you want to put a statue of the Muddy River people out there?
Yeah.
Actually, we could do one of the
Yeah.
illustrious Bob Gough with a really
with his
big
giant cigar and his
hanging out
golf cap and his highball.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah, that would work.
And then we'll just all be around him like this.
So
And there would be a ton of accidents at that roundabout.
people going,
Everyone's staring at
Everybody's like,
the statue.
who the hell is this
who
guy?
is that?
Who is that? Oh, it's Bob Gough.
All jokes aside, though, so that's one. Okay, do you want to get into what we were going to talk about, or no? Are we?
No,
running?
you
Okay.
go right. This
Yeah,
is
this is-
So it kind of rolls
defer
into-
to you. This is your
Nope.
show.
This is what we do.
I'm just a guest.
So
This
we
is what
just
we
kind
do.
of roll into things. So I'm just going to segue going from the roundabout, which is a decision that divides Quincy, to the next decision that may divide Quincy or may unify us, right?
Sure.
So this is our water bills, right? Now, is it just water that we're talking
Water and
here?
sewer.
Water and sewer. Okay. The gist of it is that our water bills may see a very significant hike in the near future.
Potentially.
Okay. So now the last thing I knew, there was a city council meeting that was they were going to tackle this subject, right?
Well, right now there is a proposed ordinance, and it has to have 3 readings. The first reading was held this past Monday. There'll be more readings to come, two more, and then after the third one, then they can vote on it. What hasn't really been determined yet is, you have commercial supplier or people who use the water. They're commercial, some industrial, and a lot of residential. The way that the initial proposal was given to the city by Jeff Conti, the Director of Public Works, the largest increase in the water rate was to be absorbed by the residents of the city. It was a 57% raise from $15 to $24. And of all the customers the city has, 92% of them are residential customers. Yet the other 8% uses way more money, way more water than the residential customers. That's why I think that will eventually, the residential 57% hike will
go down.
Will drop. So, David, have we identified the problem?
Well,
what's the problem?
Basically, what happened was, and this is, I had a conversation with Jeff Conti about this literally before you guys got here, because I thought we may talk about this, and I'm going to. I took some
Defer
notes
to
down.
your notes. Yes.
2018, the city implemented a rate hike to help pay for $60 million in improvements in the water and sewer plants.
The infrastructure.
It was the infrastructure. They raised the rate. I wish I could remember what the rate.
Because we don't want to be Flint, Michigan.
It was basically, I think Jeff told me there are parts of the water treatment plant that were created in the 1800s that need to be replaced here in Quincy. So this rate that was increased, that was created in 2018, was intended to help pay for $60 million in improvements. Now, the rate hike itself didn't cover $60 million. The first year it was like $4 million. The second year was $5.5 million. The next year was $3 million. The next 2 years was $3 million. So they've raised about $16-17 million. They also took out loans to pay for the rest of the $60 million. They're almost done. Right now they're paying. They have a 20-year loan with the EPA that help them pay for these improvements, and they're paying it back at 1.25% interest. What has happened, however, is they were getting the expected revenues they wanted through the first 4 years of what this was supposed to be a 5-year increase, starting with the fiscal year, I believe, starts in May. First 5 months of the fiscal year this year, so May, June, July, August, September, they weren't making any money. They were losing money. Charge more money to spend on chemicals, more money. It's the residual effect of there aren't people shorthanded in jobs. getting things to Quincy. So they lost this money, and to be able, so basically what this money, that this rate hike that would be voted on probably later this month, is to essentially continue making those payments on the loan back to the EPA, and finish. I think Jeff Conte told me of the $60 million of projects.
It's to the EPA.
The loan is the loan. Whoever the EPA does their banking with, I guess it was an EPA loan, is what it was. So,
I didn't know about that.
Of the $60 million of improvements that were made, he says, I think about $52 million are done. If we don't make this rate increase, we're probably not going to be able to finish those extra projects, and we'll finish the year at about neutral, zero. So that's where the
57%. That is extraordinary.
Okay, so
it is.
We're talking about water, right?
Right.
So
Water and sewer service.
And I know we have to have it.
Yes. To me,
I feel like there's
I
some
think this-
poor planning on a lot of our city.
We just you know what?
City leaders. We have some poor planning.
So Jeff Conte's super smart guy.
Yeah. I'm not doubting that.
Always,
I'm just saying
he's always trying to
there's
do the right
something
thing. In my opinion, like the Jeff Conte's like, is Mr. Bevelheimer involved in any of this in the director? Because he's
not that I know of. I can't. My guess is Chuck's involved in a lot of things.
He's a super
sort of
good
public
guy.
Works type stuff that I think this would be. This is the people who have been working with this have been Jeff Conte and Jeff Mays, the director.
So
of
it just so
Administrative
happens I'm kind of a water guy.
I was going to say, what do you think about this?
Okay, so
Water boy?
generally speaking, in Quincy, when you live close to the river, so all of our water, not all of our water, but a lot of our water comes from the river.
Yeah.
Okay. And the
We
Mississippi.
talked about this in the funky water.
We've
era.
talked about this. Yeah. Did I ever tell you about how Mark Twain Lake actually typically has more like E. coli bacteria than the Mississippi does?
Yeah.
Because the Mississippi River is always moving.
Right.
Like,
which stands to reason.
When water is
And
stagnant.
it's stagnant. Yeah. Gross.
When water is stagnant, it does bad things. So one thing with Quincy water, Quincy has actually pretty good water.
Phenomenal water.
Really good water. pH is right now. I tested the pH.
It's gotten better since we last talked about it. Taste and smell.
Really?
And the city admitted that there was an
funky.
odor or whatever.
Here's what's happening.
They fixed it.
Here's one of the problems with Quincy water is, and you some people can figure this out and some people can't, just depending on how sensitive you are. But the city may disagree with me, but there's something called chlorine hammers. Okay, a chlorine hammer is when you get a bunch of chlorine, a slug of chlorine coming through a line, and it damages people's equipment. It tastes bad. It corrodes pipes. So something. Have you ever heard of chlorine? You've heard of chlorine and ammonia. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of chloramines?
I have not.
So Quincy water generally uses, and everyone can send the hate mail to me if this is wrong, but I believe they use chloramines, and I think that's generally what's being used. So chlorine
To clean the water.
to keep the bugs out. Bugs is bacteria.
Okay.
So when I say bugs, I'm just talking about bacteria.
To filter it.
Stuff you can't see with the naked eye. True. Generally speaking, from the wastewater plant up from River Road up through like 12th Street, chlorine is in very small amounts, teeny tiny small amounts. I don't even know what I think it's in the parts per billion.
Okay.
Okay, not the parts per million.
Yeah.
So for example, for clarification, in a swimming pool, you want between 1 and 4 parts per million of free chlorine. Then you've got something called total chlorine and chlorides and things like
It's a
that.
good thing he showed up here.
So
Listen, I just smell the water and taste it. That's all I got. That's all I offer.
So what happens is chlorine is for short runs. So people who live closer to the river, they taste more chlorine. But when the chlorine kind of works its way out of the system, when you get up towards 24th Street and like out farther east, you can smell more ammonia. So chlorine and ammonia, chloramines.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why both are used, because they're good for short runs and long runs. And so what the city of Quincy needs to do is they need to repair their infrastructure. They need to get ahead of the game. They need to make sure the pH doesn't go too high. Yeah. So have you ever heard that high alkaline water is good for you, or keep your
alkalines? Period.
Keep your blood chemistry more towards the alkaline. So, for example, if you go to any convenience store, any gas station, you'll see bottles of water that say alkaline water.
Yeah.
And what that means is it's over a certain pH.
Yeah.
generally about 9 is the magic number for alkaline water. Okay. So if you've got neutral water, it's somewhere between 7.2 and 7.8, 7.1, 7.8, which, by the way, the pH scale goes between 1 and 14. It's logarithmic, like the earthquake scale. The Richter scale is logarithmic, right? Okay. 7.2 is 10 times greater than 7.1 on the Richter scale, Ash?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm over here like...
So...
no, I'm kidding.
But the bottom line...
No, I'm not.
Hey, listen, I watched a lot of PBS as a kid, so like it just comes out of me.
I love it.
But the point is we have... I was unaware of the EPA loan. That's kind of like a little weird. Thanks, Richard Nixon. Jerk. See, Republicans making the government bigger. See, that's what they do. So name a U.S. Republican president that made the government smaller. Can't do it. Can't do it. Sorry, can't do it. Yeah. Libertarian Ash.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is Quincy needs to do something, repair the infrastructure, do something about it.
The loan the prior hike was to fix the infrastructure.
Right. But the fact is, and when I asked Jeff about that, I said, okay, when this...
$60 million.
This was a $60 million loan over a $60 million project over 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, does that rate hike sunset?
Yeah.
And he was like, we would then take time to reevaluate where we need to be.
Yes, nothing ever does that.
And he said, and I said, of the 50, when he said 52 million of the $60 million worth of projects have been complete, he says, trust me, I've got plenty of other projects that need to be done. And for people in Quincy, you talk about fixing the infrastructure. One of the reasons that it takes so long to fix a city street now is anytime they're fixing a city street, they're also fixing the
underground
the clay pipes.
Yes.
That have collapsed under the weight of like 70 years of asphalt.
The point is, like, inflation is driving everything. So of course the projects that the water department, the city works, any city group of course it's going to be more expensive, right? Unfortunately, the taxpayer, the normal folks of Quincy are also dealing with the $8 lunch meat, the $4 eggs. Yep. So this hike at this time is hard to swallow, just like the potential hike with the recycling program that we talked about. Yep. Just like any other hike, it is a little harder to read, swallow, digest during this time.
Absolutely it is. But what it does make you do is sit there and go, well, I've got to pay an extra $9 now more for water. Do I need Netflix?
Yeah.
Right.
I've got to pay extra $9 for water.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of going, out to a dinner where I'm going to spend $20, maybe I'll go through and get the $5 lunch special at Fazoli's. Yeah. You have to make. Yeah. You've got to make choices.
Right. It is clean water.
That's just the way it is. I mean, the fact is that other things start to cost less. The first thing that people find out that they can. My daughter got me on a phone plan that I'm spending like $20 a month on my phone, and I'm happy as heck with it. It's great.
Cha-ching.
She was able to find the same way to do a different way to do the same thing that we've been doing for years and years and years. I mean, so
a little ingenuity, you gotta be.
You just can't sit there and go, I'm on fixed income, can't do it. Sorry, well, all right, then I guess you're not going to have water.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this sort of falls under the line of, well, do you want to have fire and police?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all things that the city will provide and they'll take care of for you. And as much as we want it all to be at a reasonable cost, there's not much we can do about it.
One perspective is you can take a look at how many times you cook, how many times you drink from the tap, how many times you flush the toilet, how many times you wash your hands, how many times you take a shower bath and whatever.
Yeah.
And you calculate that and you take a look at what the rate hike is and what you're potentially going to be paying. You do some division.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, I've got it good over here in this first world country.
Well, especially if you see the numbers that the city provided in regard to comparing Quincy's water rates to Peoria, Springfield, others. Everybody has a different way of getting their water, but just from the standpoint of the straight rates, Quincy still water is very reasonably priced, even with the hike that they're proposing.
Yes, and it's probably a good deal. And there are people that spend $5 per case of bottled water.
Yeah.
And there's some people who take really, really long showers. And it's going to force everyone to get a little bit more tighten their belts and be more appreciative of what they've got.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we're doing on time, but the illustrious Bob Gough would probably say that.
Yeah, well, my drink is almost gone, so I would say
Is
we're
that
almost
sort of
done.
like
but it's the gauge.
So
that's the gauge
That's the
of when
gauge.
it's time to kind of
Not
wrap
normally
things up?
mine, but Bob's.
So David, I think you get to wrap it up and
How
thank
do
everybody
we
for
how
being
do
here.
we wrap this
So
up?
this is what Bob goes.
Okay.
Bob goes, all right, okay, and then this has been the latest edition of the Muddy River with Ashley, Frankie, and Davey, and we are out. No, I'm kidding. He does not do that. That's something that I dreamed that he would do.
Thanks for listening and watching to Club Muddy.
That sounds like
And that's it.
much more appetizing way.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And you get to do
don't
the
get
honors.
to do it.
Yeah.
You get to do the honors.
What is my honor?
Your honor is to say, all right, thank you so much,
Close
and
it
that's
out.
it, and we're out.
All right. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we're out.
All right,
Nice.
bye.
Bye.
Baby, get hyped to the beat, let's go, 'cause this is our jam. This is our jam.
Muddy River News. Our home, our news.